Hi, welcome to Restrocast. Today, my guest is Kim Thompson. Kim is the co-founder of Raw Coffee Company, one of the oldest and highest quality coffee roastery in UAE. Kim's journey started with being a registered nurse in New Zealand to working in diamond mines business to starting coffee exploration because she thought, how difficult it can be. Last 16 years have been about relentless effort to find that perfect coffee to make sure that each time they deliver the best to their customers. I found her like a swimming duck where she was calm from outside, but there was a lot that is going on to make sure that the quality happens exactly the way she likes it and exactly the way she would want to deliver it to her customers. I felt enriched in this conversation. I'm sure you will. Welcome to Restrocast. Kim, welcome to Restrocast.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for allowing us to have a conversation with you.
Thank you for asking me, offering me the platform.
We know, I told you, while, inviting you that Raw Coffee was my, first early discovery of a coffee roaster in Dubai. Yeah, first love in Dubai. I need to some okay. Improvisation.
We can cut that out.
Yeah, no, but it was my first, a roastery, a discovery of a roastery in Dubai.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I, couldn't find any, were there roasteries even then or not? But I think I went to your roastery for the first time. I stumbled upon it and I just landed there. And I was in awe of it. I was like, wow, this is beautiful. This is superb. This is huge. We'll dive into that. We'll dive into what, how it all happened.
Can you remember when that was?
If I have to, take a guess, it must be either 2017 or 18. Was it?
We started in 2007, but I'm trying to think back because we didn't have a website, no Instagram.
No, I stumbled upon it.
Nothing.
Yeah, I'll tell you how I stumbled upon it. I was looking for coffee roasters.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I was looking for coffee roasters on Google Maps or something. I don't remember, but I do remember that I just stumbled upon it. It was not a part of any recommendation. I did not have any mechanism to reach there,
mm-hmm.
but I just landed there. And I remember it was, now it is Noorbank metro station.
Yes.
But
it's got a new name now. I can't remember what it is, but yeah, there's
yes.
It
used to be Noorbank.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do remember that.
Yeah.
And yeah.
In the middle of nowhere.
In the middle of nowhere. Absolutely. In fact, I have found both you and something called Maxi Cafe.
Yes.
Right? I stumbled upon both. I discovered coffee at your side. And very good grilled chicken at Maxi.
I was going to say, and the grilled meats and
things. Oh, grilled chicken at Maxi is like, it mm-hmm. remains one of my favorite. Mm-hmm. And both are like, quite,
And then we're in the middle, and then on the other side, there's Raju omelette. If you really like the
I know Raju omelette.
And everything, so.
Oh, Raju omelette is there?
Yeah, there's
I knew that there was one in Barsha.
Yeah, no, there's one there too.
Nice. So you're a Raju omelette fan?
Yeah, and I love the chai.
Yeah. Nice. So Kim, where it all started, I told you, my thesis is that nobody enters restaurant or food beverage industry by choice unless
mm-hmm.
they're a little insane.
Or they make a mistake. And
they just fall into it. Right? It's a trap, right? So they just fall into it. That's my thesis for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me if I'm wrong, or if not, how did it all start?
But we weren't a restaurant at the beginning. I think I ran a cafe at the Jebel Ali Sailing Club. I have 3 daughters, and my husband and daughters, they all loved sailing. And we used to spend every weekend camping and sailing down there. You could just have bare feet and your swimmers, and it was really cool. And when they were looking to tender for the F&B, I didn't like paying all the money I was paying for really bad food, so I said I would do it. I had no idea what I was doing then. Luckily, only 18 months, 2 years of doing that, and the Dubai Marina was being built. And I remember going and seeing this table with this 3D model of JBR and everything. They're never going to do that. There's no way that's going to happen.
Oh, you saw JBR as a 3D model.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then,
What
of
year
course,
was
they
that?
did it. Well, I started Raw in 2007, so it must have been either 2006.
Wow.
2006. And so the sailing club was demolished. I had time, but during running the cafe, I'm originally a New Zealander, and we're used to having owner-operated, butchers, bakers, roasters, cafes, restaurants, no franchises, well, very few franchises down there. So I hadn't been able to find a coffee supplier for the cafe. So it was a solution that I thought there was a gap in the market, and that's why I would start doing coffee. Obviously had no idea what I was getting myself into, and the only thing, if I look back, I can say hand on heart is that I'm brave, but I'm also incredibly naive. And I'm just lucky that I chose the right area, the niche to play in of the, the direct trade, the ethically sourced, the good coffee, because I didn't know how to do it. I had to learn while I was, there wasn't any website to learn about roasting or anything back then. So.
No, but how do you decide to actually start, a roastery when you don't
know what you're doing?
Yeah, exactly. Like, what was that? Like, if I want a great cup of coffee, there are other ways to do it. You'll buy coffee from somewhere. Why will you start roasting? What
there
happened?
wasn't anyone doing it here. Everything was coming in from Europe. There were roasters, but more of the local roastery and nuts and Arabic style. And then everything was stale or in a supermarket. And I just thought it can't be that hard. You just put it in an oven and a roaster and you cook it. But yeah, it's just being naive. And then I'm really fiercely independent and I will not fail. So I spent the first 18 months of completely running around in circles trying to get emissions tests approved at the municipality in the early stages when I think it was a compliance issue, but they didn't really know how to execute it. And I remember one day going in after about 4 months, literally not being able to do anything and just crying. And they quickly signed it and gave it to me. And it was like, I should have done that 4 months ago.
Wow. So for emissions means like even for a small roasting?
Yeah, but I mean, it's good. I think it's really good. They're looking at the environmental impact, but the waste that you generate from roasting is very minimal. It's carbon. And in a lot of big cities, you would have to have an afterburner on your roaster if you had a bigger roaster, or you'd be in an industrial area. Whereas we use small shop roasters still, actually. Our largest roaster is only 30 kilo. So you don't need an afterburner and you just have a chimney and there's only a little bit of carbon that comes out that you can smell.
So even to put a small, small roastery, you need to have compliance with emissions.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. And what was that running around? What were you trying to figure out? Like, how did it start? Like, if I need to imagine that if I was starting a coffee roastery, like, what was your path to that?
So I think supply chain is really important. So to find the farmers and the cooperatives that you can work with. So we spent I started the business in 3 years and my business partner joined me. So he came here from New Zealand also with his wife, who's a senior air traffic controller. She's still an air traffic controller now. So she was the breadwinner for their family. And I think the first 5 years was knowledge. So roasting was one part of it, sourcing the coffee and repetitively roasting and trying to improve the quality of the taste and understanding the science behind it. And then it was learning how to make the coffee in an espresso machine because we didn't know how to do that either. Understanding water chemistry because, coffee is a lot of water.
Yeah.
And looking at things like freshness and first in, first out and all those stock management and logistics things. And we just did it very, very slowly and we didn't really have any customers. So we had time to look at how we were doing it. And then if we did have a customer and we made some money, we put it back into buying green beans. And I think I had originally two, a young Indian man who had been my dishwasher at the cafe and a Nepalese man who had been working in a production kitchen who I'd met, and I thought was an amazing young man. And I brought them in, and we put a 3-group Vega machine on our kitchen counter in Arabian Ranches, and we just practiced and bought really coffee from the supermarket and just kept making it until we kind of were happy with how it looked and tasted. Didn't understand the intricacies of the grinder for quite a long time. It was a pretty good learning curve.
I think after loving coffee for I think more than a couple of years, I discovered for the first time that beans are actually green beans. Before they're roasted in the pop. For me that was quite a discovery, and I think for the longest period of time I hadn't seen what a green bean looks like in real. I mean, I knew from the knowledge.
Yeah.
It's only after visiting a couple of roasteries where I had to one day ask somebody that, hey, can you show me actually how green is green bean, like what does it even look like, right? So many people have never seen it.
No, I still like taking people through the roastery and showing them through the green bean room, and taking them and showing them the roasting room and the technical team, because there's a lot of, it's not like opening a bottle of wine. You can buy a really good bottle of wine or anything like that, and it doesn't matter where in the world, as long as you've got the temperature right, and if you have to breathe it, you breathe it, but that's you don't need to train too long to do that. But I actually think baristas should be a profession. I think it's like a really good chef or a really good mixologist. At the moment, still there isn't a category for a barista. It's a coffee maker. But I think the art of making a consistently good cup of coffee, there's so many variables to control. And that's from the farm, from the processing, through the shipping with the temperatures. You can't ship coffee here during 4 months of summer, 3 months of summer. It shouldn't really be in a container. So there's lots of little things to control, and I am still, after 16 years, I'm still learning so much. And I'm not making a lot of coffee anymore. I'm trying to run the business, so I think we've just decided to sponsor Taste Abu Dhabi and Taste Dubai, and that was my first ever event. 15 years ago was our first event, and that's when we got Gordon Ramsay's there, because there was a sommelier who understood coffee, and so that was really exciting, because once he did that, then other cafes and businesses would consider looking at us. But yeah.
I think baristas are also getting mainstream, because I see a lot of coffee competitions, and like they're catching rage all over the world.
There's a lot, and I mean, you really have to have a tattoo or a piercing, and
yeah, you need to look the part.
Yes,
right?
Yes. But I mean,
are you qualified?
Yes, I 15th
Oh, right,
birthday.
okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
I think we like employing people to join our team who don't know anything about coffee. So we employ them on their personalities. And I think we have something like 18 different personalities in the company. And I love that, because
please educate us on like what do you mean by they need to have a personality that fits?
I think it's the alignment of values. So you can tell, I mean, they're always really nervous, but they don't generally fly into Dubai or the UAE knowing they want to work in coffee. They come to the UAE to get a job, to send their money home to their families. So maybe now it's a little bit more attractive to work in a cafe, but I would have said it would have been much more attractive to have gone and worked in a hotel with accommodation, food, transportation, and a more clear career path. But I do think it's becoming more mainstream. You never used to see Emirati owners working in a cafe proudly, and they do now. And they are competing in the AeroPress and the brewers competitions, and they're roasting. So that's amazing, because that's showing the depth of the growth of the industry. 375 roasters.
Oh, really?
Registered roasters in the UAE.
In the UAE.
Yeah, so some really big guys. I would say while we're significant, we're not big by volume output. And we still are supplying mostly either independent or owner-operated or a small chain. We've started entering some bigger markets now, but often they're not looking necessarily for quality or fresh, and we believe in that.
But it's very difficult, must be very difficult to sell the freshness and quality as the parameter, for coffee, because at the end of the day, when somebody's running, even if you're an independent cafe or even a chain, unless your offering also is specialty coffee, or you're pivoting around coffee.
There's a lot of cafes now that is their IP, that they're saying that they're a specialty. So for that to be authentic, they really should have fresh coffee, because that makes it consistently possible for the people making the coffee to deliver the same experience to the customer. And it's stock management for them and cash flow for them too, not having to buy in bulk if they can just get weekly deliveries. That's a good scenario, I think.
Kim, I'll pull you back to your early years growing up. Tell us a little bit about that. You said you grew up in New Zealand.
I am from a middle class background. I'm the oldest. I have a sister and a brother. I grew up first competing as a gymnast, and then I competed on horses. I really loved horses. And then I turned 15. I was told by my father that I had to consider what I was going to be doing next, because he wasn't going to be financing this passion, and I wasn't good enough to go professional. And it was a very expensive sport back in New Zealand, and we also weren't on a farm, so it's not like we had a lot of access to land. So I remember one of my friends at school, there was a new girl that started at school who I thought was really cool, and she'd always wanted to be a nurse. So I went with her, and I went and became a nurse, because I really just wanted to leave home, and I wanted to leave the place where I grew up. I wanted to get out of there. I wanted to earn money. I didn't want to go to university. So I did what we called back then registered general and obstetrics nursing for 4 years. Travelled with the nursing.
What was nursing the way to travel?
Used to be. It was a great way to travel, actually. And I thought it was a reasonably good income. I think looking back, I wish I'd been a bit more ambitious and done medicine, but that's okay. And then I backpacked around India and Tibet and Nepal, China for a year until my money ran out. Went back to New Zealand, did a bit more nursing, got married, had 3 children. And then my husband, ex-husband now, he had always wanted to fly. So we went from New Zealand, Australia to the Netherlands, where he flew for KLM City Hopper, and then to Bahrain and here to the Emirates Airlines. So that's what originally brought me here.
And that was back when?
That is 28 years ago.
28 years.
We came for 5 years. I'm still here. One of my daughters is married here to a lovely Emirati guy. They have 3 boys. And my younger daughter is living with me at the moment, writing a book.
Wow. And that's I also read that you worked, with diamond mines.
Yeah, I did. I worked at Argyle Diamond Mine. That was funny, actually. My old...
Was it after coming here, or?
No, it was before. So I would have been 23. So the old manager of the mine came through here recently. It was really funny. He came and had dinner and saw the roastery, and he's lovely. He's 80 and he still competes on motorbikes and dirt racing and everything. He's crazy. But he was joking that I did the job as his PA for a year, and he had to try and do his job after I left, finding the documents and things that I'd filed, because I had no idea what any of the mining terminology was, because I was just faking it. I wasn't even really able to type or anything like that. So that was probably one of the best jobs I've ever done, though. I really loved that job, but I wasn't very good at it.
It was back in New Zealand? Or?
No, Western Australia, Argyle Diamond Mine. It was a very big diamond mine, actually. So it was inland from Kununurra. I used to fly into work every day. It was amazing.
That's awesome. And then 28...
I'm not wearing any diamonds, but yeah. I think we had access to wholesale 50% off diamonds, but it was at a time of my life I think I bought a mountain bike instead or something with the money I had.
How are your travels to India?
I love India. I traveled a lot through India. I love the food. I love the color. I love the vibrancy. I hover in and out of yoga regularly. My family, my girls all do. Without being able to explain, I really love reading. I have some of my favorite authors are from India. Yeah.
Tell me some.
My favorite book of all time is A Fine Balance by Rohinton Mistry. Have you read that?
No.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. It's a little dark.
A Fine Balance?
Yeah, A Fine Balance. And I've just read Covenant of Water, which I loved. And I read it on a Kindle, so I can't remember the name of the author, but he's definitely Indian. But yeah, I think a lot of the medicine and the philosophy and their approach historically to health and how the body works and herbs, and I resonate with that quite a lot, actually.
But is it something that you gathered from your backpacking experience across India, or is it something like has grown over years through your reading?
I did a 4-year course when I realized I was a bit disillusioned with modern medicine as a nurse, that I did a course in alternative medicine, herbal medicine, and I think that exposed me a lot more to homeopathy and Ayurveda and things. I didn't really go into it deeply, but and also reflexology, iridology. I believe that stuff. For me, that's science.
So you did that course, like a full-time course?
No, I did it. What do you call it when you? I did that in my own time, a 4-year course in my own time. Yeah.
And where was that?
I did that in Australia, but then at the end of that course, I wasn't confident enough to become a alternative practitioner in case I missed something, because I also realized that a lot of people need to change their lifestyle, and that's not what they're coming to see somebody for. They're coming for a tablet or nothing too hard, and
quick fix.
Yes, and I think modern society, the way we live, the way we eat, the way stress, all of the chemicals, I think we have to change our lifestyle. But that's a much more. You have to be more committed to doing that. And then I got into coffee, so I don't know.
Then I'm actually forced to ask you, what is your opinion on bad effects of caffeine that the world keep talking about?
I think life is about moderation. It's about balance. I think if you drink a cup of coffee with milk and sugar or syrups or anything like that, it's not the same as if you have an espresso or a brewed coffee. I think there are a lot of proven health benefits from having coffee, but again, I think having too much of anything is not ideal. And then it's the quality of the water, it's the quality of the coffee that you're having. Maybe it's the ritual of how you drink it, because you have different cultures that walk and drink it over. I see you carry. Is that a coffee, or is that something else in there?
Coffee. No, trust me. I wouldn't mind if it was something else, but it's coffee.
Well, I have to ask that because I am the only person in my company that drinks tea. There's 56 people in Raw, and they all drink coffee. And some of them I know, my business partner included, I can't talk to them till I've had at least 2 double espressos. They need to have their coffee before. Because they have theirs, yeah. But I sort of sneak in and I just have an English breakfast tea in a mug, so I'm not very refined. But I sort of sneak in feeling really embarrassed about doing it, and sort of put my mug in under the espresso machine and try not to get in anybody's road and get out really quickly. But they all drink lots more coffee than I do. I only have 2, maybe 3, but only a few.
No, but you were commenting on like the way. Do
you make it last for a long period of time?
Yeah, right.
Whereas some people drink it fast, and you have the Italians that just stand and drink it, and the French that would never have coffee with milk after a certain time of the day, and there's all these beautiful cultural
For me, I think
rituals
for
people have?
me, I think I only have one coffee a day. I like rarely,
And do you have it as a pick-me-up or because you like the taste?
I like the taste. I don't do it for caffeine. I don't even I have never, had a sip of coffee and said, oh, this is so good. I mean, for me, it's the taste.
Okay.
And I love the ritual of making my own coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And I make 40 grams
Yep.
once. And I will probably drink this for like 3.5 hours. I'll sip it. And mostly it's going to be afternoon.
Okay.
Like mostly after 3 p.m. So
Okay.
3 to 6 p.m. is where my
When
coffee
you
is
drink
working.
it.
And that's it.
So mine's more 1 till 4. People have their routine. We have some customers that drink the same coffee at the same time in the same chair by the same person they like.
Yeah, for that I have to be at the same place.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. And others that are really experimental, which is fantastic. It is funny. It's
no, I love espresso. I think for me, but the problem is that not everybody can make good one, and I can't. There's a compulsion, right? So but if I find good espresso, I'm somebody who's gonna will sit at one place.
You've just been in Barcelona. Did you find any good coffee up in Spain?
Yes, a lot of them. Actually, I brought 2 of them for you.
Oh, amazing.
Now, Barcelona had some very good coffee roasters.
There's a really good food scene, I think, in Barcelona.
Yeah, really fun.
Really good.
Yeah, really fun. And I think just the vibe of the vibe is quite chill. People,
But also, I think Spain, Colombia, they really live for their friends,
all Spanish people,
for their food, for their music. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Barcelona was. I mean, it's also quite sunny. So I think the way I saw action on a weekday around beach felt like a national holiday. So I don't know what was going on there, but people are really happy and they're really making most of the beach.
No, they do, very much.
Kim, on the coffee side,
yes,
what's happening? How the business. I mean, when did you start Raw, and how has business been?
I think,
give us a view from your eyes so far.
I think we started in 2007, and as I mentioned earlier, the first couple of years were going around in circles. I have come to the realization that a business goes through different evolutions, and whether that's the money coming in, because obviously every business is either providing a service or a product to a consumer, and then for an owner operator, you're often restricted by your cash flow on your ability to grow or scale. So we've gone through these waves of excitement when we get really good customers, or when one of our team wins a barista championship, or when we've found a really good partner to work with in Rwanda, Burundi, or something like that, and we've gone up there, and it's been this cycle. And every time we grow, everything's just slightly out of reach still, because we need more money to buy more stock, we need more equipment, we need more people. So I measure it by my own values, really, where it's always been an excitement for me when we've reached a point where we've been able to recruit someone who's really good into the company, who's got way more skills than us, that brings that area of expertise. That's been a really exciting phase. And remembering 16 years is a long time. So we're slow. We've been very organic, and both Matt and I are control freaks. So we didn't want an investor. We wanted to control the foundation of how the business was going to be. We just didn't realize it was going to take as long as it has. We're ready now to be brave, now that we're a bit more grown up.
To let go.
Yeah. And I think it's like we've had a baby that's now gone through their staggering toddler, and they're ready to go to kindy. So we're ready to be part of something that's a little bit more scalable and offer the farmers that we've been buying coffee from the ability to sell us more, because they're waiting for that. They've stuck with us for quite a long time. They want to work with us.
But what you're saying is something like really important. I want to double click on that because the realization and what you're telling me is that letting go as an entrepreneur is tough, and especially you built it, it's your baby, you wanted to work a certain way, run a certain way. You definitely have a list of things you don't want to do. You don't want somebody else to fiddle with it, even though they may do it better, or they may open like a different portal for you. When did this realization happen? And
honestly, for me, I think Matt might have got there earlier. It would be when we'd survived COVID, and that was obviously for any hospitality F&B, it was no fun, which you would know. We had money in the bank because we were saving to move into Saudi, but we were on our toes were on the edge, and we were ready, and we'd got all the licenses and everything, but we were hesitating, and actually we're really pleased we hadn't, because we were able to use that money to keep the team,
sail through.
We had to change. We had to show real agility and come up with different scenarios for different eventualities, and we lost all our B2B sales pretty much overnight. So we had to be clever in getting our story out to let people know that we could deliver to their homes. And if they're making banana bread and they're doing the other things, they could learn to make coffee. And, we did online trainings and delivered water and all that sort of dumb stuff. But that kept us going. And then people learnt to make it on their own and realized that actually they could make it better than a lot of places that they were paying money for. And so that changed our breakdown of B2B, B2C. It's now we've had to work very hard to get our B2B back up where it was. And we're nearly there, but it's been a very slow slog because there's also been a lot of new players that have come into the market. Some more of a facade than a genuine threat, but noise and distraction.
Correct. I mean, they hurt you for the time they sustain.
And we had to also make a strategy around that, because we should listen to what's going on, but we're actually controlling a lot of the market with quality. And most of the businesses peg their pricing on us. So we just had to almost put blinkers on, have our ears open, concentrate on what we felt was the right thing to do for our business. And we took the hard route, really, because we were saying, okay, but we can help you with your menu, your solutions, your water, your equipment, your training. We're not just providing you the coffee. And it's all like an add-in into the kilo price. So we had to wait for the operators, the owners, to appreciate the value of those things, because we're not the cheapest coffee on the market. We have beautiful coffee. And then the other thing that's sort of unsexy is that we're consistent. Because, there's some that might have beautiful, but, they're bringing in 30 kilos and then it's gone. So we're sort of old school. We think it needs to be consistent.
But that is only possible in micro lots or small lots.
No, it's our whole business. We base on that philosophy, but ranging from like our lowest scoring coffee would be an 84, and that's a decaf. So, it's taking, and the decaf's actually quite good. You might, if you had all the coffees on the table, you might not be able to pick it was a decaf. So that's a really good indication of a good decaf.
How do you do, I have like this question is for like me personally.
Are you opening a roastery?
always on the edge. How do you make like a bean decaf?
Yeah. So they grow the coffee the same way. The coffee that we have, we have two coffees from Colombia that are decaffeinated. They grow the coffee, they dry the coffee the same way. So one of our coffees is a washed coffee. It goes through that whole process of being washed, and then they take it to a plant where they use a byproduct of sugarcane. So it's an acetate. And they put it in a bath. It's natural, there's no chemicals. And the osmosis exchange takes out quite a few things, and one of them is caffeine. And then they dry it again in probably a big air dryer. And And then we have a very
From the green bean.
from the green bean. And then so they take the green bean we've got a Villa Maria naturally processed coffee where they pick the cherry from the tree, they dry the cherry on a
Bed.
raised African drying bed. When it reaches the desired 11% moisture, they hull it to get the fruit off the outside, and then they take it to decaffeinate it. So that's a much more expensive decaf, but it's that they're experimenting a lot with it. And I think as I mature and learn, I realize that it's okay to have decaf coffee and have decaf
I
coffee.
am actually, you know what, I'm looking for, decaf coffee for a while, because there are times when I actually want to have a second cup.
Yes.
And I'm like...
And you don't want the...
I don't know.
jitters and-
Yeah, because after that, I mean, it also
Yeah.
gets to you, right? So,
Yeah.
And I can see that, okay, my sleep cycle gets messed up.
But I think there are some people that caffeine doesn't affect them the same way. Like, you can't say it affects everybody the same way. I don't have caffeine in the first part of the day because I feel like it drops my blood sugar. It makes me feel a little unwell. But if I've had food, then I can drink as much coffee as I would like. But there are some people that feel that caffeine really, it makes them anxious. It's not something
Yeah.
But yeah, there's really good decaffeinated coffee available now. I can send some to you if you like, so that you can try it tomorrow. But we used to be a little arrogant and think, why would you have decaf? It's like, why would you have non-alcohol beer?
As an entrepreneur, when you feel,
What
is the most difficult?
It was after COVID. And I think it was knowing that we didn't want to be the Nokia of specialty coffee. We have to keep innovating. We have to keep moving forward. And it's to do what we want to do is going to cost a lot of money. And we've grown organically without an investor to this point. But to do what we want to do, we need to use our knowledge, our timing, our very strong supply chain, and we know this time we need a decent budget for marketing.
What is it that you want to do?
Scale into different markets. We have an amazing cold brew that we have a business idea for that we really want to do. Cold brew is huge in America and North America, huge. And I mean the weather here. There's people playing with it, but none of them have got a very good product. And we've got the product, but we just need to commit to... We need a new team. We need another warehouse, bottling line. So that's exciting. But
that's a heavy capex.
Yes, it is. It is. And, to enter a new market, to do it properly, we need to be there. You can't do it from here. So that's another... it's like you can't teeter on the edge.
What does that let go look like? Like, in what spheres you still want to make sure that, okay, no, I'm still going to hold the control? And what part of the business you have realized that, okay, maybe I'm good at this, but I need to let go. I need to, allow other people to... I've
just been doing with a really wonderful woman, my Gallup, profiling, just to confirm what I already knew, but it's good to look at it and see.
How perfect was it?
98% perfect. And I think the little bit where
there
were 3 questions where, as I was trying to answer them, my laptop did some stupid stuff. So it's so accurate, it's ridiculous. I'm really into people. I'm really into connections. I'm really into developing a team, communication. I hate networking. I didn't used to like doing this type of thing. I love the sourcing of the green beans, and I love the travel. I love forming the relationships with the farmers and the producers. I like the responsibility of
that comes from the people part, right?
I think so.
People and relationships.
Yeah. You can tell a lot from a community about how good the coffee's going to be. If it's tidy, if the women look happy and joining in and feel like they can join in when you're there, if they have a voice, because 90% of the labor is women, but they often don't have access to the finance. So to go there, you get to see the health of the women, the health of the children, and all the really good coffee comes from pretty poor countries, and it's a pretty important export or commodity for them. So I really love going to origin. I haven't been to a farm or met a cooperative that's unhealthy where the coffee's good.
Wow, that's some insight.
And a lot of the next generation, the younger men and women, it's a big ask for them to continue growing coffee. So we really need to make sure we understand their challenges and try and get finance to them, not just the one time we buy the coffee, but maybe we commit, pre-commitment sales. I'm really looking forward to some of you clever tech guys coming up with some type of, provenance, which not only helps us access finance, but helps them with theirs, because I think that's going to come. I have a feeling that all this sort of farm gate visibility and where the value's being added and stuff is going to come at some stage with soybeans.
No, I agree with you. It should.
Sort of
It should, because the way it's growing all over the world.
Yeah, and you don't need all these people in the middle.
Yeah.
You don't.
I
adding no value.
I think all the the supply chain and the middlemen, and I think there's layers of middlemen in the coffee business. I think that's largely also because the world has been doing a lot of commercial blends, gathering coffee from literally all over the planet, just mixing them up and selling them a dark or the darkest roast to get into the espresso machine. I think that has just created so many layers of middlemen who basically neither understand coffee nor understand the
But
the
I also
end
think
use.
the farmer has maybe never tried their product, and they in specialty, like you can go to the same. We've been to the same farm when the Nestle buyers are there in Ethiopia. We've literally been on the same little tiny plane going, and we thought we were so lucky, like getting on the plane with them. And they're buying hundreds of containers, and we're only buying 2, but we pay so much more money, and they care about a customer, a consumer like us, because the price per pound or per kilo that we're paying is significant compared to those great big volume sales that they make. But it's coming from one farm, and it might be coming from one hill, but it's the care the farmer takes when they're picking their crop. And if we think it's been hard in our end of the F&B scene, it was really tough for the farmers going through COVID, because buyers weren't buying. And
it has a shelf life, like it'll go bad, right? They can't store it for long.
Nope. And they help each other pick. It's quite a community thing still. So they move around picking, and they were not able to move.
So when you're talking about how farmers are taking care of their crops and how the community is, I met this guy last year in Goa in India. He's running a coffee lab. Where he's just testing coffee, on various parameters, and he's also, running in his own roastery. I was asking him about one coffee which just blew my mind away, very, very good coffee. And I was like, okay, where is this from? And he was like, well, this is a tribal coffee. So what is a tribal coffee? He said, well, there are places in India where farmers are not really coffee farmers, but they are adjacent to, the coffee fields. And there's a lot of wild coffee that just grows around their farms, and they harvest it. And
there's quite a lot coming out of India now.
Right. And historically, there was no buyer, of that. So most of that coffee used to get, bought by the lowest value commercial lots. He said, one day I tried that coffee and I was like, wow, what happened here? So he said that I started working with these farmers. And he said, you have to see why this coffee is great. He said that farmer talks to the plant. So they're talking to the plant. They're saying, hey, come on, don't go this way.
It must be the perfect soil, the perfect rain, the perfect sunshine, the shade, and probably a really old varietal. Because it's that's something that I
was surprised by the volumes. This guy is he has, I think if I remember correctly, he's talked about some 500 families like in the same geographical spread, they are harvesting 3.5 tons for him,
Fantastic.
which was massive
And doing
because
it collectively.
yeah,
Yeah.
because when he
They can
said
share
that
the
it's
costs
wild
and-
coffee, I was like,
yeah.
okay, not single origin. He
Lots
said
of
it
labor
does not need to
intensive,
be.
and probably like snakes on the ground when they're picking it
Correct,
and all that
correct.
sort of stuff.
And
Yeah.
for them, he, that money is actually bonus because it's wild coffee.
Yeah.
It's not even their cash crop. It's a side crop for them.
So a lot of the varietals of coffee came out of Ethiopia. So Yemen is somewhere that cultivated coffee for the first time, but a lot of the heirloom varieties scientifically can be proved genetically that they've come from Ethiopia. And they still have wild coffee, heirloom coffee growing in different parts of Ethiopia.
Yemeni coffee.
Yes.
It's interesting that you said that. How do you get coffee from Yemen, given the zone and
So we went. I've been to Yemen a couple of times, and it was so beautiful, and it's like going back 100 years, and all of the beautiful houses on top of the hills, and it's very dramatic scenery, very harsh farming, I think.
now, like you're talking about
now
recent?
it's terribly tragic now. At the moment we have a friend, Garfield Kerr, who's actually on the World Specialty Coffee Association board. He's here. He lives here in Dubai, and he has invested in a processing plant in Sa'ana, and his dream is to try and help the Yemeni farmers to process their coffee and then get their samples tidied up really nicely and get it out to the market to help them grow, because that's where he identified he could add the most value. So we're kind of lucky we have an in, but it's a very challenging market to try and get coffee out.
First Yemeni coffee I tried was from your house.
Yeah. So Garfield has a business called Mocha 1450. So the port that coffee first left Yemen is the port of Mocha in the year 1450.
Mm-hmm.
So he has a business here in the UAE. He has two locations, one in Al Wasl Road and one on the Palm. And we source coffee through connections with Garfield. Very good. It's a very unique tasting coffee. Amazing history, the story
But
behind
very
the
delicate.
coffee.
I mean, I think in front of
Yeah.
V60.
Yeah, and it's got if it's a clean, natural fermented coffee, it has sort of almost like wine-like flavors in it. I think maybe 12, 13 years ago, we used to get coffee from Yemen that honestly just tasted like wild strawberries. It was amazing. But it's cyclic.
But I've heard that, I mean, is that true or not? I've heard that supply chain, because of war-stricken zone and, all that is going on. I've heard that supply chain, from Yemen at times smells of, what do you call it? Explosives or, not really.
I think that's a story. I think it depends how they've stored the coffee, because they often store it in the ground floor of their houses once they've picked it and dried it. And then if maybe they had oil or a generator or something like that, there could be contamination.
I heard that the trucks, at times they're not able to transport, the stuff through the
they
regular
deal
supply
with
chain. So they
really-
basically
Yeah.
put it on like a military truck or something, and then
I think sometimes ours has come by bus in a rice sack, So there's a little bit of a risk. Most coffee now comes in Grain Pro plastic bags, which would keep out any pollutant or anything nasty. They don't have anything. So there's a risk, but I would love to see it one day get back to what it showed potential to do. And I think, we've realized it's not just the farm, the soil, the type of coffee that's growing, it's the producer. That's a huge part of the equation. That is a business that is trustworthy to the farmer that pays them, because the farmer can't pay for that processing because they don't have any money left, because they only have that crop once a year. So then there needs to be a really good relationship.
When I tasted Yemeni coffee, I was like, okay, this can probably compete with Panama, Geisha,
Well, you have to remember here too that there's a strong emotional connection to the coffee from Yemen, because they've all grown up with honestly, here, all their grandmothers, they were bringing the green beans and hand roasting them in their kitchens and making their own coffee. And it was either Ethiopian or Yemeni coffee.
Here
in the UAE. Yep.
Oh, okay.
It all came from here. But I think that connection to Yemen is real with regards to that lovely respect they have that coffee originated in the Arabian Gulf. It did. It left the world, went up through the Ottoman Empire from here. Not here, our neighbor.
Yeah. How's the business of coffee? Where do you see the business of coffee going? And you said 375 registered roasters alone in UAE. I can totally see that. Coffee is kind of blooming all over the world. I can talk about, for example, India.
It's thriving in India.
Like literally, I can tell you 3 years back, as COVID hit, I really had to search coffee roasters in India, and I found 3. In 3 years, I think if you search right now, I don't know how many there will be, but I can tell you there'll be way too many.
Yeah.
And all of them just bloomed right in front of me. I can tell you that I spent a lot of time in US. North America drinks coffee a little differently. Specialty coffee is still catching up. It blows my mind that, a country...
They drink a lot of coffee.
They drink a lot.
Yeah.
Like for the kind of coffee consumption that market has, and the penetration of good quality specialty coffee, when I see that, it's like too big a gap, and that gap, I don't know if it's an opportunity or not. It looks like an opportunity to me.
Look like an opportunity.
And Europe, I think, has been Europe is consistent.
Yep.
Like it has both parts, quite an equal proportion. How do you look at coffee business? What's the opportunity?
I think here the market is saturated. I think that a lot of the people that are involved in coffee, it's a passion project. It's a wave, and you see that all around the world. Actually, what happens in London or Hamburg or Austria or Melbourne or New Zealand or San Francisco, it's going to happen here. It's a wave. So I think we know we're not unique. We caught up fast, because I think we used to say we're a good 5 years behind Melbourne. We're not anymore. There's a lot of really good coffee here, and there's a lot of really good baristas. People find their tribe, their community, where they want to go.
But if an entrepreneur comes to you, if I come to you and say, hey, I want to enter coffee business, not let's say in UAE alone, but I just want to enter coffee business, what is going to be your advice to me? What are the things you will ask me to? What are the do's and don'ts?
I've done quite a few blogs on this. I think understanding the market, looking at the existing players to see what they're good at, what they're really good at, because they'll all have something hopefully that they're good at. We look at things like the competition. I think you need to have a showroom or somewhere people can come and experience what you're doing. So that's accessibility, even if you're we're in the middle of an industrial zone, but it's still accessible because it's close to Sheikh Zayed Road.
Yeah.
I think knowing where you want to fit into that existing part of the segment of the market, whether you want to supply to hotels in volume or you want to start your own cafe chain, or you want to have a truck, or you want to do events. You need to have you can't do everything well, so you'd need to know where you wanted to go into it. I think you're already doing F&B in restaurants, so that you already know how to operate. So that's exciting for us to know someone that's already an operator, because I think there's a lot of people that will get into F&B that have no experience, and it's really hard,
but that's most of the people.
Yes.
That's most of the people in F&B.
Yes. I think it makes sense if you're already in F&B. It adds another revenue stream to control. Back to my control thing, to control your own quality of your coffee. The opportunities of cold brew or pods, or there's so many different market segments that you can look at. when we went through that Endeavour organization I was talking to you about earlier on, the first time we tried the local selection, we didn't get through because we
Talk about it. I mean, if
Yeah.
you can explain
Yeah.
what's Endeavour.
So Endeavour I is an organization that I really love. They're an SME accelerator, global platform that go into emerging markets, and they recognize a genuine, true economy needs to have SMEs. And then they provide a network of mentors to help you, whether it's logistics, marketing, any part of your business. And for me, it was I was late to start my journey in business. It was a revelation that these men and women could give me advice on my coffee business without them knowing anything about coffee.
Yeah, that's
because it's not really about the product. That's
correct.
I can do that. I can do the product.
Yeah.
But it was about everything else.
Yeah,
and they can still do it. You know, that we meet them every quarter, and you know, I've come out of some of those meetings pretty shaken because they've immediately we were going to try and cheat, you know, to get an outcome that we wanted. They could tell straight away, and they're like, nope, you need to be doing that, or whatever it may be. And it's been really very giving us a frame to work within, always pushing us, always challenging that status quo. You know, when you get comfy sometimes, maybe you've got something going on with your family and you've got other little distractions. It's like, no, come on, you focus. You've got a lot of people depending on you. And you know,
also,
so it's been really good.
You know, it's surprising how mechanics of running a business, you know, can be, you know, like so transferable, you know, so similar irrespective of the business that you're running. Like
and I wasn't aware of that, but that's so true. Same rules.
Yeah.
And for me, I like to pick and choose, like I do in a lot of things in my life, where I take the bits out of that resonate with me, that I like. So I really believe, you know, the development of the team.
How much of your entrepreneurial ego got challenged by, you know, folks at Endeavour?
A lot, and nearly not getting through. And that all came down to my area that I kind of control, and that scalability was fallible because of human error. You know, you think about coffee, it's related. I know you can have robots now, and I know you can automate the roasting, but I don't believe the area of our industry that we play in is ever going to accept that as a status quo, because it's about connection. It's about that transfer, that communication that happens between, like I've realized my job, I think, is to source the coffee, roast the coffee, and then communicate the story to the end consumer and control all the little things that go on. And, you know, it's hard controlling all the little things, but if the end customer gets to feel connected to where the coffee comes from, and they trust us, because they have to trust that we're not greenwashing, or because that goes on a lot in our industry, that if they can trust us, I think that's what's made our business so strong. And we didn't know anything about ESG when we started. I didn't even know what it meant. So the first time I'm in a meeting and they're talking about ESG, I'm like, then going back and typing it in and trying to learn about it and going, oh, we do that. I didn't even know what ESG was.
Are you getting some ESG compliances or certifications also?
We're looking at it. I think we're looking at it. We're actually looking at B Corp. I think B Corp feels to us like it's something that it feels like that's what we should be doing.
No, I think what you said, you know, is really, you know, great, that the story of where is this, you know, bean coming from, you know, where was this harvested, the community it's coming from, and, you know, bring that story to the end user can be, you know, one company that did it beautifully well is this shoe brand called Birds.
Birds?
Yeah. Have you heard of them?
I have.
Their domain name goes by All Birds.
I thought you were going to say Patagonia, because that's an incredible.
That too.
Yeah.
I think I actually should say Patagonia, because Patagonia, All Birds did a Patagonia. That's what I believe, right?
Yeah.
But I think very similar. True that.
One thing that's real with anything, like if you bought good shoes from Birds or Patagonia, or you bought a good mezcal, or whatever it is, if you've done that and you pay a similar amount of money for something that's not good, you're never going to buy the not good.
100%. But for me, I
So
think
it's an evolution of you as a customer too.
Yeah,
understanding the value of.
No, that's true. But I think it's also the story that makes you, present to the quality. For example, I remember my experience as a consumer. Why I said Birds and not Patagonia, obviously, because I bought Patagonia not buying the story. For me, it was already popular.
Okay.
Birds as a brand got built in front of me.
Yeah.
So for me, as a consumer, to experience that brand and the product and the story was actually firsthand, right? So I remember two things that they did well. In fact, that's an idea as well if you think about implementing. So when you go to a bird store, they had this wall which basically talked about where's that wool coming from and what are the, and then they they basically have a, what do you call, the deconstructed shoe.
Okay.
Right on the wall. So each piece that has gone into the shoe is stuck on the wall saying, okay, these are the materials used in this shoe. Now the coolest thing for me was that because they're continuously talking about merino wool through all their communication, as soon as I bought the first pair, they sent me a bill on the email, and on the email there was a link which said, you want to say hi to the
sheep that gave you the wool.
And I clicked on it, and it asked me to put a hashtag number, and I was like, wow. And I'm a tech guy. I mean, my mind was just blowing that, like, wow, how did they do that? Yeah. I mean, it was a gimmick, but it was a cute one, because as soon as I put that number, it opened a page which had a video of a lot of sheep going, and it said, this is your sheep. And I was like, oh, wow. And suddenly it said, wait, no, this is your sheep. No, this is your sheep. No, I was like, dude, you got me.
Well, I think, I believe the dairy board now does that with the cows that they milk. They have a chip of some kind so that they can record where the milk comes from. So I was going to say that maybe but then they got you. So yeah.
Yeah, they got me.
I'm pretty gullible, for sure. So I was going to believe that.
No, I almost, trust me, I borderline believed it while it was happening, but it was very cool. Like that stayed with me. And, of course, Patagonia did that, the same playbook, right? So they did it, early years. I'm sure early customers of Patagonia had the same emotion, which I have for Birds.
Yeah. It's nice when you find a brand like that.
Yeah, so mezcal, coffee. I think a lot of these where community and the farmers can be talked about can be a very, very interesting idea.
Yeah, and I think probably what we've gone through with like a pandemic and thing, it makes you want to be connected with your family. It wants you to be connected, and maybe go back to. There's a lot of new bread companies that are in town, croissant companies. There's a lot more smaller industries that are starting whose products are a lot better than the big guys. They're buying good ingredients, and I like to think that there's a shift coming.
Kim, what do you do for your own mental health? Do you want to talk about that? Or not a good idea?
Well, I don't want my children to hear this,
okay.
But
we can cut that out. Then we'll keep it offline.
I think my daughter said to me last night, because I was a bit stressed last night. I have a small business that brings in beautiful products from Palestine. So I travel there quite regularly. I was back there last month.
Oh.
I have a lot of friends there. So I don't think my mental health is great at the moment. I'm really sad and a bit depleted by humanity, if I'm honest. But I know I need to do yoga. I know I need to not be on social media.
Why not?
Because it doesn't make me feel good.
Does it?
Oh, the yoga makes me feel good, not the social media, I mean. The yoga makes me feel really good. I have a trainer that I see that I haven't seen for a few weeks because I had a cold. I have a big rescue dog that I walk, that I love walking, and I live out near Al Barari, which is the really green part of Dubai. So we go on big walks. I think last week I did a hike in Ras Al Khaimah on the weekend, which I love. I feel like I've got a reasonable work-life balance, but I also feel I'm really lucky that I don't have young children. I have my grandchildren, but I can come in and love them and then, go.
Leave them.
So I have a lot of time to dedicate to work, which I'm enjoying. I get a lot of purpose from.
What's keeping you excited every day morning?
The opportunity of growth, I think. Learning. I love learning. I love a challenge. And my business is, I'm not in that stage where you don't know if it's going to make it. That was a little bit, ooh. I like taking risks. I'm really good at taking risks. So I can feel that we're at a stage that's really exciting, and I might have to lose a bit of control in that stage, but I'm kind of ready for that too, because there's a few other things I'm interested in. I want to build another house. I built a beautiful house in Bali about 10 years ago.
In Bali?
In a place called Mas, just outside of Ubud. And
how often you are there?
I actually haven't been there for a couple of years, but I have people that rent the house at the moment and looking after the garden and everything. It's really beautiful. But it's if I've had holidays, I've tended to go to Ibiza or one of the other places. I'm lucky enough to travel. I'm very privileged. So the world's a small place.
Awesome. That was a great chat, Kim.
Thank you for asking me. It's really nice to meet you.
And so much to learn about coffee. I was thinking that, okay, I need to ask you for Yemeni coffee. I need to ask you for the cold brew. And I was just making a mental note of all the things that you were telling me.
And the decaf.
Decaf for sure.
Are you here tomorrow morning? When do you fly out?
I will be, I'm here.
I can get a delivery to the hotel for you.
No, I'll come over. I'll visit. I don't know if you're there or not, but
I am. But I can also deliver in case you're busy.
Super.
Or in case you have a big night.
I mean that always is. So don't worry. No, that was great. I'm sure that a lot of people who will watch this, are going to actually reach out to you to know more about coffee business.
It's been a wonderful journey. It's been a very happy phase of my life, actually, and it's very satisfying, and to still be learning. And I would encourage any person to be brave and start a company. F&B, do your homework first and maybe have 3 times the budget that you thought you were going to need, but or maybe it takes 3 times as long.
It's funny you said 3 times, right? I'll tell you. So I invest in tech companies, startups, right? So, and I generally ask startup founders that, okay, when they're fundraising, I'm like, okay, what's your need? Like, what do you think? I said, okay, X. And I'll say, all right, okay, just multiply it by 3. And they'll be like, wow, why 3? So my answer to that is, that 1x for really doing what's your plan. The second X, because the first X will fail miserably. The second X is to improve on the first X. And the third is the cushion if the second fails, because there is a high chance that after the first X is gone, you'll be left with a lot of knowledge of don'ts, but still no do's. If the second X is gone, you may be left with a lot of do's and don'ts, but no money to actually now put that to use. So the third X you keep, there, so that once you are done with do's and don'ts, probably not only you'll survive, but you can thrive on it.
I met some really amazing entrepreneurs in Istanbul, a month or so ago, and nearly all of them had a similar, failure journey, but they took away really good knowledge from it. Maybe it was just timing. The product was still good, but maybe the timing just wasn't quite right, or quite a few of them didn't have the cash to take it to that next stage, but it was really interesting, and that they were all really philosophical about it. You had to do that to get to there.
But you know what? I think in my entrepreneurial journey, I think what I have learned is, and I made peace with it many years back, that cash is always going to be low because ambition is going to grow. So how much cash you have and how much.
I might put that on my epitaph.
I mean, because when I look back, I mean, there was a point in my journey, I think back in 2014, 15, this is when this realization, I just made peace with it. Because there was a point where I realized that, what the hell, cash is never enough. And I was sitting on 50x of what I had, let's say 7 years before that. So I was like, what is happening? Is the inflation just getting like growing faster than my cash reserves? And then I realized, no, it's not the cash. It's the size of my ambition. It's probably, the quality at which I want to do a certain thing. It's the things that I'm, my threshold of compromise with something.
Oh,
It's continuously
absolutely.
rising, right? And I just couldn't do things cheaper like year on year. So I made peace with it. And I was like, okay, this is how the life is going to be.
I
Let's
guess
have fun.
You go into it with your eyes open if you're starting something new, though, after you've done other things. don't
Yeah,
you?
cash is still low. Awareness is high.
Yeah, exactly.
So-
But you made the decision.
Yeah, true that.
Okay.
On that note, Kim,
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.